Chances are you're a rower who has done hard pieces before. You've been on the erg, you've done races, and every single time you have survived. You've gotten off, you've walked away. Yet, when we sit back down to do that next hard piece, or when we're about to line up for a race, we have that voice inside of our head screaming, sometimes whispering, "Stop, you can't do this." We know the pain that's going to be involved, and we don't want to do it. Our brain is trying to prevent us from doing it. How can we push through the pain? Well, that's what this presentation is all about. My name is Dr. David Schary. I'm a professor of sports psychology as well as the director of mental health and performance at Winthrop University. I am also a former rower and coach. I have been there. I have done this. I know what it feels like. And today I'm going to share with you some strategies for how we can push through pain backed by neuroscience. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We have to understand that within your brain, you actually have two brains, metaphorically here, stuffed into your one body. You have what I call the automatic or the racing brain. This brain is fast. It runs under pressure. It sends the survival signals. It's impulsive. It's intuitive, meaning that you can't control this brain. It just happens. The thoughts just happen when you get into a situation. So when you sit down on the erg to do a 2K, as an example, that initial feeling of, oh my goodness, I can't do this, or this is going to hurt so much, or when you're in the middle of a piece and your brain is screaming, stop, you can't do this anymore, that is the racing brain. We contrast that then with the training brain or the thinking brain. This is slow, it's rational, it knows the plan, it knows your technique, it knows without a shadow of a doubt that you can survive. Yet, when we're actually doing pieces and the intensity goes up, that automatic brain takes over. The thinking brain, the training brain, it goes offline. You can't really access it to its full capacity. So you're stuck with whatever that racing brain, whatever that automatic brain is giving you, that's what you have. And you can't prevent this. It's biology. It's just what happens. So that leads us to a problem. The problem being that your automatic brain hasn't learned that this hurts or this piece, this 2K is painful, has not learned that that does not equal you are dying. See, that brain taps into that fight or flight mentality, and it's trying to protect you. It's trying to make sure that you don't actually die, because something that is painful historically has meant that you are in danger. You could die. So it's trying to prevent you. It's trying to get you to stop that thing. Now, we are not in danger, for most of us, as long as you're healthy. We're not in danger. We're doing something that is hard, that is uncomfortable, that does cause pain, but you will survive. So this is not a toughness problem. It's not a mental toughness problem. Rather, it's a calibration problem. And I really want you to internalize that. If you struggle with pushing yourself, whether you actually get a good score or a bad score, whether you win the race or you lose the race, if you still struggle with pushing yourself, get away from the fact that you are not mentally tough. It is just you have not calibrated, you have not tweaked, you have not trained that automatic racing brain to where it needs to be. Then pain tolerance, in this instance, is a skill. It's a skill like anything else. Just like your stroke, just like trying to get the blade into the water at the right time, just like not rushing the slide. All of these things can be learned, and so can pain tolerance. So can pushing yourself through that uncomfortable feeling that you get when you're on the erg or when you're in the boat racing. Now, I want to preface this by saying it takes time. Just like fixing something in your technique doesn't happen overnight and doesn't just get fixed as soon as the coach tells you something, it takes repetition. It's the same with pain response. It's going to take upwards of 15, 20, sometimes more reps of the process we're going to go through for you to start feeling the change, for your automatic racing brain to start signaling that, hey, I am safe. I don't have to keep screaming, stop, stop, stop. So stay with me, go through it, and commit to the process, and I promise you will see change. Then let's actually jump into, how do we answer this question? Am I actually empty, or does my brain just think that I am? Because it all boils down to this. If our brains think we don't have anything left and we are in vital danger of collapsing, it's going to want us to stop. But in that high intensity state, your brain gets really confused, and it's hard for it to actually know physically, do I have anything left, or am I just reacting to something that's uncomfortable? So how do you actually find out? You got to answer these questions. One, how did I feel? So at the end of a piece, if you're reflecting back, you want to think, okay, how did I actually feel during that piece? Okay, it was hard. Was I actually able to push through? Did I stop? What did you actually feel? Then what did your splits show? Especially if you're doing this on an erg, what did your splits show? Were your splits consistent? Did they go up and down? Did they actually go down through the piece? Did they go up through the piece? What actually happened objectively with the data? With that, you can start saying, was my body actually, quote unquote, dying? Was I not able to maintain the split? Or was I actually able to maintain the split and my brain just thought I was dying? Once you can, went too far there. Once you can figure that out, once you have answers to all of those questions, you can start recalibrating. And this is the loop that we're going to build on. So the recalibration loop starts with when you feel that stop signal. It might happen immediately, it might happen halfway through a piece, it might happen at the very end. But when it does happen, you want to commit and execute anyways. And we'll get to strategies in a second on how to do that. But it's very important that even though you feel the stop signal, you keep going. You notice the actual outcome. So I felt a stop signal, let's say at 1,000 meters, halfway through our 2K. I kept going, I committed, I executed, and then my actual outcome was whatever score you got. And maybe it was your goal. Maybe you PR'd. Maybe you blew up. Whatever it was, just notice what the outcome was. And through this, your automatic brain gets data. As an example, let's say I felt a stop signal at about 1,200 meters into my 2K. Screaming, stop, 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 you can't do this, this hurts too much, just take the next stroke off, whatever that voice inside you says. I commit anyway, I'm gonna keep doing this. I notice the outcome, I got my goal. I hit the splits that I wanted to. So my automatic brain gets new data and it loops back up. And after that repetition, I'm a little bit less likely to interpret that stop signal as strongly. I do this again on the next hard piece. Oh, I get more data. I could actually do this. It loops back up. And as I said earlier, it takes about 15 to 20 times of going through this process, going through hard pieces, noticing what the data is, reflecting on that, and then looping it back to your automatic brain so that eventually, over, let's say, several months, maybe a season of doing these hard pieces, whether they're 2Ks or just high-intensity pieces on the water, that your brain starts recalibrating, rewiring itself. So now, when we hit that 1,200 meter mark, I don't interpret the uncomfortableness, which is probably not going to go away, as threatening, which means that little voice inside my head is less likely to chirp, stop, 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 and more likely to say, you got this, you can keep going. This might sound all well and good, so how do I actually do this? How can I put this process into motion? The first thing you have to do is you have to accept the reaction. Accept that it's coming. Don't try and fight it. This might be different if you've read sports psychology stuff in the past. This might be different than what you've heard. I don't want you to fight those reactions. Don't fight the feeling of stop. Don't fight the painful experiences or feelings that you have in your legs, the burning sensations. Just accept that this is my reaction. and normalize the situation. So not only am I accepting that, okay, I'm hurting or my brain's telling me to stop, but I have to normalize that doing a 2K is hard. Racing is hard. We are in a hard sport and we're gonna feel uncomfortable. And that's normal. Whether you are just starting out as, let's say, a high schooler, or you're an Olympian or an Olympic hopeful, a 2K, a race, a training piece is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to hurt. And that's okay because that's our sport. That's just the physical realities of pushing yourself to the limit. So when that happens, what do? Because it is uncomfortable. You want to externalize your focus. So instead of getting caught up in those thoughts or the feelings inside of the pain, whatever else that you might be experiencing, start focusing on things outside of yourself. Pushing off with your feet, sitting up, the follow through. Maybe you're actually just looking at your stroke rate, or you're listening to the coxswain, or your coach, or you're just hearing the fan of the erg go, or you're hearing the water run under the boat, or you're just looking out at what's around you. Whatever it is, externalize your focus. Don't get too distracted that you forget what you're doing, but just get away from just obsessing over the pain in your legs or the thought of just wanting to stop. Your brain can't think of two things at one time. So if you're externalizing your focus, it can't obsess over the legs. If you are just starting this, it will likely feel like a tug of war. You're going to want to think about whatever it is that's going on inside your body. You've got to remind yourself, nope, going to focus on, sitting up. Going to focus on finishing through. Going to focus on just listening to my coxswain. Your brain's going to probably wander back eventually to the pain or to that voice of saying, just stop, just stop, just stop. So no, I hear that. I accept it. This is normal. I'm going to focus on whatever it is that you decided to externalize. Before you start a piece, before you go out in the boat, make sure that you have a list of maybe 1, 2, no more than 3 things that you're going to try and focus your mind on that's external to you. And then, once the piece is over, once the practice is done, reflect on the process. What was my mind telling me? What was I expecting? Did that actually happen? No, it didn't. Feeds back in. Or maybe it did happen. That also gives you some good information. Okay, maybe I went a little too hard. Next time I need to recalibrate. Next time I need to adjust. But chances are you actually pushed yourself harder and farther than you thought you could. Take time to reflect on that. If you just speed right past it, you're not giving yourself that opportunity to recalibrate. You actually need to take time to walk through the steps of what happened. So in a little bit more detail, before the piece, notice the dread, the pain, whatever it is that you're experiencing. Don't fight it. You can tell yourself things like, my brain is just doing this thing. This is what brains do. Brains are meant to protect me. It doesn't want me to do this hard piece. But then commit to it anyway. You can tell yourself, this is going to be hard. I can do it. If you've done these pieces before, you can remember, yes, I did this last week, something very similar. I survived. I actually did really well. Or maybe last week, I really struggled. And as a result, I'm going to implement this strategy. Whatever it is, hold on to that and remind yourself of that. And then during the piece, notice when your brain is saying stop. You can actually tell this to yourself. I'm having the thought that my brain is telling me to stop. I'm noticing that my brain is screaming at me to stop. I'm noticing that the pain is there. But then quickly follow up with, this is just a signal. It's not a command. We have thousands of thoughts a day. I think the last thing I read was 1 thought about every 1 second. We don't listen to all of those thoughts. We see them as what they are, just information. We can take the information, we can leave the information. This thought of wanting to stop or that this hurts so much is just another one of those thoughts. It's just information. It's just a signal. It's not a command. You don't have to listen to it. And then, as I said before, externalize the focus on something that you have already predetermined. This is what I'm going to focus on. I've had some rowers even write down their focus on a Post-it note and put it on the monitor or on the wall in front of them if they're erging. That way it's right there and they don't have to try and think about it when they're in the middle of a piece. Or they might tell a coxswain, if the coxswain or the coaches are wandering around, the coxswain can then cue and remind you, hey, this is something that you can be doing if you're fortunate enough to have a coxswain there with you. And then after a piece, do not skip this. After a piece, you need to reflect. You need to make sure that you break down what was I thinking before, what actually happened during the piece, what was the result. What can this then teach my automatic racing brain? This can teach my brain that even though I think I'm going to die at 1,200 meters, I'm not actually going to. I can actually push through. And this was the fourth piece, the fifth piece, the sixth piece that I was able to do that. And if you didn't do well, that's okay too. That can still train your automatic brain. Don't just throw out a bad piece as, oh, this was a waste of a practice, because it wasn't. One, you got physiological training, but two, this can also help with your brain. Let's just say I blew up at 1,000 meters and I gave up and I, went down and I was 20 seconds off what I wanted to do. All right, when did that happen? Okay, my brain started to tell me at 800 meters I couldn't do this anymore. Was I actually tired? Was I sore and not recovered? Did I not eat right? Did I not sleep right? Were there physiological things that went on that prevented me from doing well? Let's say no, there wasn't. I felt really good before the piece. This was a surprise. Okay, when did it happen? It happened at 800 meters. What was I thinking? Write down those thoughts. How long was I able to maintain the split? Did I externalize my focus? Yes or no? Was I tug-of-warring back and forth? Was I distracted? Could I have thought about something different? So that externalized focus didn't work. What could I focus on next time? And then maybe your goal next time is not to complete, let's say, the whole 2,000 meter erg test before your brain starts to go haywire. Maybe it's, I'm just going to try and commit to going 100 extra meters next time before I let my split go. Or maybe 150 or 200 meters. Put it into bite-sized chunks, because then you can handle it and it's not as overwhelming, especially if you are giving up early in a piece. Just set your goal for a little bit longer. And maybe you don't even, and you may not have control over this, but maybe you don't even do a full 2K next time. Maybe you died at 800 meters in. Okay, next time I'm just going to do a 900 meter piece and I'm going to maintain to 900 meters. And then that gives your body a little bit more, and your brain a little bit more evidence that you can do this. You're successful? Okay, let me push it to 950 or 1,000 meters, 1,100 meters, until you can get back up to the 2K. That's just a strategy if you really are struggling with getting yourself to push past, let's say, a certain barrier. Important, important, important here. This will not work just after one piece. This takes time, especially if you have struggled with this for a long time, for years. It's going to take time to reverse the way that your brain automatically reacts. Because one good piece or one bad piece to your brain will seem like a fluke. That just happened. It's not the normal pattern of events. 15 to 20 good pieces, though, that equals a pattern, especially if you are doing that intentional reflection at the end. That is the money. You have to do that intentional reaction. That's how you recalibrate. You notice, you commit. That might take some external focus and accepting and normalizing, and then you reflect. That is the important sequence of events to recalibrate what pain feels like and is interpreted by your brain. Remember, pain is an interpretation. You don't have to take the crazy interpretation and signal that your brain gives you the first time. You can notice it, you can try and push through it, and every time you push a little bit farther, your brain's going to learn. And it's going to learn that, hey, that pain is not necessarily a bad thing. That pain just means I'm working hard. And again, that's when the recalibration happens. All right, so what's the key idea here as we wrap up? Pain tolerance isn't about being tough. It's not about just I have the personality to push through, or that person has it and I don't. No, that is not true at all. It is a training process. You can train yourself to tolerate pain for longer and longer because it's just making sure your automatic brain doesn't see it as a threat, that you're going to die, that you can do it, that you have done it, and that you can do it again in the future. It's not about danger. Discomfort does not equal danger. Repeat that over and over again. This takes reps, it takes reflection, and it takes patience. A lot of times we want it right now. I understand that. That's how I am. I just want things right away, but it takes time. Remember, it takes time. And in the end, it is trainable, regardless of where you're at right now. If you can't finish a hard piece, or you're just looking to shave off a few extra seconds off of an amazing 2K time already, regardless of where you are on that spectrum, it is trainable. Please believe me, please buy into that. Because if you don't, it doesn't matter if you apply any of this, because your brain isn't going to believe it. So you have to start with understanding this is a trainable skill, just like anything else. Pain tolerance is a trainable skill. You can improve it, you will improve it if you commit to these steps. So then this week, I challenge you on your next hard piece, whether it's on the water, whether it's on the erg, to write down these or answers to these questions. After the piece, when did my brain tell me to stop? When did I actually stop, if you did? What does this gap tell me? How can I test myself, or what will I test the next time? So what can I push myself to do the next time? Now, if you didn't stop, great. Maybe when did that voice inside my head get a little louder? Or maybe when did I see my splits just start to tick up a little bit? Notice those. It doesn't have to be when you just stopped the piece. It could be just when did it get hard? When did I start wavering on my commitment? What does this gap tell me between what I thought and what actually happened? And what will I test the next time? Maybe it's trying to push yourself a few minutes longer, a few more meters. Maybe it's trying to just externalize a little bit more. Or maybe it's just trying to do a different piece. Whatever it is, think about it, commit to it, and if you do this over and over again, I promise you, your pain tolerance is going to go up. You're going to find yourself being able to push yourself farther than you thought you could. The pain might not necessarily go away, probably won't, but you'll be able to handle it with a lot more confidence. Again, my name's David Schary, former rower and coach. I hope this helped. Thanks.